The story kicks off with a wild, jaw-dropping mystery on the Gaia continent. Monsters are vanishing without a trace. At first, people were freaking out, thinking these creatures were being wiped out. But it's something way stranger. Turns out, they're being teleported to another dimension. Enter this mysterious mage, who's been obsessively chasing answers for years. After pouring his soul into research, he's finally ready to take the ultimate leap into the unknown. His heart races. This is it. The moment he's been waiting for. He's about to crack open the secrets of interdimensional travel, and he's buzzing with excitement. The scene is straight up magical. The mage stands in a glowing magic circle, the runes beneath his feet blazing with fiery intensity. The air hums, thick with energy, buzzing with the raw power of mana from the Great Labyrinth, a legendary dungeon packed with untold forces. His pulse quickens. Everything he's worked for is about to unfold. With adrenaline pumping, he throws his arms up, unleashing a shout of pure exhilaration. Let's go. The room erupts in a blinding surge of energy. Symbols flare to life. The vortex spins into a wild frenzy. It's happening. But then, just when victory feels within his grasp, everything falls apart. Horribly. His confident smirk vanishes as mana spirals wildly out of control. The walls twist, the air distorts. His heart skips a beat. No way, he whispers, his voice trembling as his eyes widen in sheer disbelief. The crushing reality hits him like a wave. He didn't cross dimensions. Instead, he sent the entire freaking dungeon into another dimension. It completely vanished. And there he stands, frozen, feeling like the biggest fool alive, as where the dungeon once stood is now just emptiness. His mind races. Why did only the dungeon get transported, and not me? Meanwhile, in another dimension, a man stares in shock as a glowing portal materializes in his attic, mirroring the mage's bewilderment. The story shifts to a mega mall, where we meet Jin-hyuk, a D-rank hunter whose life couldn't be more different. He's standing there, weighed down by a water jug, completely zoned out, lost in a sea of thoughts, while some high school girls nearby gush over their perfect brother, Jun. Jun's the best. He's so focused, they gush, but Jin-hyuk barely hears them. He's spiraling, deep in his own frustration, wondering if he'll ever get the life he dreams of with his trash-tier skill. His chest tightens. He's stuck in a rut, doubting if he'll ever be anything more than a low-level hunter grinding away at a dead-end life. As doubt consumes him, his coworker snaps him back to reality. They're behind on their shift. Jin-hyuk throws a sharp, frustrated glance at his team, the weight of his discontent hanging heavy on his shoulders. He's fed up with this low-paying job, but there's no other way to earn money. His mind keeps spinning with doubt as the team gears up to move out in their truck. In the truck, Jin-hyuk tries to keep it casual, chatting with a part-time worker, cracking jokes about how being a hunter makes him immune to the cold and heat. But beneath the surface, reality stings. The truth, being a D-rank hunter is brutal. The money's non-existent, the big guilds have everything locked down, and he's barely scraping by with part-time work, while the higher ranks live large. The pressure builds in his chest. His life feels like a never-ending grind. Then the conversation takes a dark turn. Talk of a serial killer targeting top-tier guild members spreads tension through the air. Jin-hyuk shrugs, making a sarcastic crack about how the elites must be losing their minds now that they can't track down the killer. But before the banter can continue, a scream pierces the distance, sharp and terrifying. Something's gone horribly wrong. Jin-hyuk doesn't hesitate. Adrenaline floods his veins. Could be a terrorist attack, could be a monster outbreak. It doesn't matter. He's charging into danger like it's second nature, ignoring the workers' shouts to stop. When he arrives at the scene, his heart pounds as he takes in the chaos. Civilians are screaming, terrified. It's clear they need a hunter. Activating his inventory, he grabs his only weapon, a beat-up metal baseball bat, and prepares to face whatever horror awaits. Monsters are near, and he knows only hunters can break through their energy. It's time to act. He's all in, laser-focused. He has to move fast before the bigger guilds swoop in and steal the win. If he can take down a few monsters, his money problems are solved for a year. But just as he's about to strike, the Titan Guild storms in, led by Doyeon, their ruthless deputy guild master. In a heartbeat, Doyeon throws Jin-hyuk to the ground, his voice a growl of authority. This is Titan's territory, he snarls, making it crystal clear Jin-hyuk isn't welcome here. Jin-hyuk's gut twists. Despite being the first on the scene, he's powerless against the raw strength of the Titan Guild. He tries to push back, but Doyen effortlessly beats him down. Doyen's arrogance radiates as he sneers at Jin-hyuk. "Who do you think you are, trash?" The words cut deep, and the threat is unmistakable. Cross them again, and it's over. Doyen's smirk is cold, while Jin-hyuk's face contorts with frustration, the gulf between them painfully clear. No matter how hard he tries, he's outclassed, and the gap in power is suffocating. Is this the difference between a D-rank and a major guild hunter? Jin-hyuk thinks, the question weighing heavy on his spirit. Beaten and humiliated, Jin-hyuk drags himself home, mentally shattered by the day's events. The dark, moody city streets mirror his descent into bitterness and self-doubt. His thoughts swirl with rage and helplessness, the Titan Guild's tyranny looming large in his mind. As he enters his dimly lit room, intrusive thoughts flood in, dark and twisted. He almost wishes the serial killer would target the Titan Guild next. The weight of his failure is crushing, his inner voice whispering in defeat. If only I were stronger. It's suffocating, and he's beyond tired of being at the bottom. But just as he begins to sink into despair, something strange jolts him back. A noise, unfamiliar and eerie, comes from his attic. His pulse quickens, tension building as shadows flicker around him. He climbs to investigate, and his world flips upside down. There, glowing in his attic, is a portal, a freaking dungeon, right in his house. The glowing light spills out, drawing him in, his mind racing. Then he spots it, a goblin. But it doesn't even notice him. As he cautiously steps closer, it dawns on him. The goblin can't see him. His heart skips. How is this possible? Why can't the goblin attack him? A slow grin spreads across his face, as he knows that his plot armor has finally arrived. The scene cuts to Jin-hyuk, grabbed a cold drink and thought, could this be a dungeon that's only existed as a concept until now? As he chugged down the drink, he debated whether to report this to the association or keep it quiet. He knew that if he reported it, they'd kick him out of his house under the guise of an on-site investigation. After some internal debate, Jin-hyuk made his choice. Rather than handing over a gold mine to the association, he decided to take it for himself. There's one problem. What if monsters start coming through? Armed with a metal bat, he entered the dungeon to see what's going on. With his current abilities, he could only handle 2 or 3 goblins at best. He entered the dungeon and instantly got a confirmation. He was on the first floor of a goblin maze. His guess was right. It's a real dungeon. Suddenly, the eerie cry of a goblin filled the air. Startled, dodged an attack and quickly retreated through the portal, hoping the monsters wouldn't follow him. To his relief, the goblins couldn't see him or come through the portal. This gave him newfound confidence. No reason to be scared now. Seizing the moment, smashed the goblin in the face with his bat, sending the creature's weapon flying. He followed up with a stab to the chest, finishing it off. Even as he did so, he muttered, "Don't look at me like that, I'm pretty desperate too." He continued pummeling the goblin, feeling the weight of fighting solo for the first time. This moment was a game changer for Jin-hyuk. For years, his level hadn't risen, but with this one goblin kill, his experience skyrocketed. It made him realize just how oppressive the big guild's control over hunting grounds was. The big guilds hoarded all the resources, leaving little for the smaller hunters. Then, a thought hit him. Goblin corpses are valuable. He remembered that a goblin corpse used to sell for at least 3 million won. With a grin, wondered how much this goblin could fetch. He headed over to the Hunter Exchange Center to cash in. At the counter, he confidently placed the goblin corpse on the table. However, the staff immediately noticed that Jin-hyuk didn't have much hunting experience and critiqued how the goblin was killed. Apparently, sloppiness lowered its market value, but they still offered 3.2 million won. Just as the staff were about to process the sale, they asked where he hunted the goblin. Hesitated. Revealing the location of his personal dungeon could ruin his whole plan. But before he could respond, things took a sudden turn. A group of hunters from the Black Dragon Guild stormed in, looking for someone who supposedly stole a monster from their hunting grounds. These guys were like a pack of hyenas, intimidating and ready for a fight. But quickly realized they weren't after him. Instead, they were gunning for some blonde guy in the corner. With a sigh of relief, narrowly avoided conflict, but the tension in the air was palpable. The tension hits the roof as the guild members corner a blonde guy, their faces twisted in rage as they unleash a flurry of punches. His friend, totally freaked out by the brutal beatdown, yells, "What the hell are you doing?" The guild members, dripping with menace, shoot back with, "This man illegally hunted monsters in our guild's territory." Things spiral out of control with accusations and threats flying everywhere. Meanwhile, Jin-hyuk is fuming with a fire in his eyes, thinking, "If I want to avoid clowns like these, I need to level up. Just you wait, you dirty punks, I'm gonna get stronger. And it's all gonna start with that dungeon." As he stands there looking serious and determined, Jin-hyuk finally goes back home, but let's be real, he's already itching to jump back into the dungeon grind. My guy's on a mission to power up, and he's not wasting any time. He's all geared up, running through his checklist, like he's about to drop into a high-stakes game. Among the essentials? A return stone, a pricey 1,000,001 lifesaver. But when you're knee-deep in dungeon danger, it's worth every penny. And let's not forget the search radar. Jin-hyuk spent 400,000 won on this thing, but it's only good within a 50-meter range. Total buzzkill. But hey, better a weak radar than no radar, right? He's banking on it being enough to dodge any nasty surprises. So Jin-hyuk steps into the dungeon, radar in hand, eyes sharp. Boom! First target spotted at 1 o'clock. A goblin. Without a second thought, he's on it. A couple of swift strikes later, and it's game over for the goblin. The sweet level up notification pops up, and you can practically feel the dopamine rush. But this is just the beginning. Jin-hyuk's in full beast mode, tearing through goblin after goblin like he's running on turbo. The action here is wild. He's moving like a pro, leveling up faster than you can say, up. We get this epic montage of him grinding from level 4 to 9 in what feels like seconds. The grind is real, but for Jin-hyuk, it's necessary. Sure, it's repetitive, but when you're gaining levels this fast, who's complaining? After flexing on the goblins, he finally takes a breather. He leans against a wall, chugs some water, and pulls up his status window to check the level he is on. Yeah, he's leveling up, but he's not exactly god tier yet. Frustration's creeping in. It's a slow climb, but hey, at least he's moving in the right direction. This little moment of calm hits different, like the calm before the next storm. But Jin-hyuk's not calling it a day just yet. His inventory's almost full, but he's hunting for one more goblin, hopefully a bigger one that he can profit a lot from. He checks his radar, spotting a target creeping in from 9 o'clock. He crouches down, every sense on high alert. 5 meters? 3 meters? Now! Suddenly, out of nowhere, wham! A helmet flies in front of his eyes. Wait, what? That's definitely not a goblin. Jin-hyuk's caught totally off guard. He peeks through the shadows and, yep, there's a human. But not just any human. This dude looks pissed, yelling in a language Jin-hyuk can't even begin to understand. The confusion is real. Now here's where things get really weird. This stranger, he's not just angry, he's furious. And poor Jin-hyuk is standing there, trying to stutter out an apology that's clearly not landing. He's out of options, so he tries again. But nope, this guy's having none of it. Next thing you know, the stranger pulls out this glowing necklace and gestures for Jin-hyuk to wear it. Normally you'd be like, hard pass, but Jin-hyuk? Too curious for his own good. As soon as the necklace clicks into place, the stranger's language is finally understandable. Turns out this isn't some random dude, he's a dwarf. And not just any dwarf, he's 132 years old, gruff as heck, and absolutely roasting Jin-hyuk. You little punk? What do you think you're doing? And Jin-hyuk? He's floored. Dwarves? Like the mythical race straight out of fantasy books? But this guy's standing right in front of him, full-on armor and everything. But here's the kicker. The dwarf isn't here for a friendly chat. He's loaded with rare gear, the kind of loot you only dream of finding, and he's pissed because Jin-hyuk accidentally picked up some of it. Yeah, it's that awkward. And the dwarf? He's making it clear. Give it all back, or things are about to get ugly. Jin-hyuk, being the smart guy he is, doesn't argue. He hands everything over, no questions asked, realizing this dwarf is way higher level than him. No way he's winning that fight. The dwarf is fixated on his metal bat, gripping it like he just struck gold. Confused, Jin-hyuk asks, "What's wrong with my bat?" But the dwarf's too shook, asking where he got it with a trembling voice, like the bat's some kind of lost artifact. Then the big reveal drops. It's orichalcum. Jin-hyuk's mind races as he processes that his plain old bat is, in fact, made from a legendary metal, way more valuable than he ever realized. The dwarf, now fully geeking out, drags Jin-hyuk to his workshop, hyping up the bat's untapped potential, promising rare loot and all kinds of treasures. Skeptical but intrigued, Jin-hyuk follows, eyes wide as they step into the workshop. A dimly lit treasure trove of glowing weapons and artifacts, practically begging to be picked up. As the dwarf works on the bat, Jin-hyuk's torn between checking out other weapons and wondering if the bat's really all that. But then, with a triumphant shout, the dwarf unveils the transformed bat, now radiating a brilliant red light, pulsing with raw power. Compared to this, the rest is junk, the dwarf says, eyes gleaming. Jin-hyuk grabs the glowing bat, stunned by the transformation. The dwarf explains how orichalcum, weak at first, becomes stronger and redder the more it's enchanted. And just like that, Jin-hyuk's got a weapon that's gone from 0 to overpowered real quick. Jin-hyuk hits a major glow-up in strength that's got a legendary bat that's practically dripping with power, glowing in intense red-crimson light. It used to be just a basic aluminum bat, but now it's a full-on game-changer packed with insane abilities like presence detection and auto-retrieval. Jin-hyuk's mind is racing with thoughts of how much cash he could rake in if only he could sell it. But plot twist, it's bound to him, so no dice there. His frustration is real, but he quickly shifts gears. Not one to waste time, he opens up his inventory and bam! 20 fresh goblin corpses, just chilling there, ready to be sold. But the Hunters Association? No, they're way too sketchy for this type of deal. Instead, he's got a plan. The black market. They always hand out business cards to low-level hunters who are in need. Jin-hyuk pulls up to this rundown abandoned spot that seemed kind of sketchy. Inside, while looking at the business card, he's met by Mr. Cho, also known as the deputy manager of this area, who leads him into the boss place. Lee Jin-chul, a former loan shark, now a monster corpse buyer, sizes him up after asking for what our protagonist got for him. Jin-hyuk opens his inventory and places all the goblin's corpse on the floor. He is shocked that a rookie like Jin-hyuk is bringing in such high-quality goblin corpses. Not 5 or 10, but 20 of them. The tension is thick, especially when the intense negotiation kicks off. Jin-hyuk demands 5 million won per corpse, but Lee's not biting, pointing out the goblins' damaged heads, offering a measly 3.5 million. Jin-hyuk doesn't even flinch. Cool, confident, and smirking, he counters with 4.5 million and holds his ground. The buyer is tensed, but Jin-hyuk say he'll find another buyer then if they don't like the price. The tension cranks up as Jin-hyuk finds himself smack in the middle of chaos. It all starts when a panicked guy sprints to the boss, screaming in full terror that they're doomed because a monster has appeared. Jin-hyuk's heart skips a beat. A monster? His luck really couldn't get worse. Dead monsters, after all, tend to attract even more trouble. As fear tightens its grip, Jin-hyuk quickly demands, "What kind of monster?" The response is chilling. 2 orcs. Sweat drips as Jin-hyuk realizes they're way out of his league. He thinks about bailing, but not without snagging the goblin corpses first. But before he can even react, an eerie sensation crawls up his spine. Something's behind him. Out of the shadows steps an orc, its massive hulking frame towering over him, glowing red eyes full of menace. Jin-hyuk freezes, dread coursing through him. The boss is no help, pathetically begging Jin-hyuk, a hunter, to do something. But Jin-hyuk knows deep down, he's not ready for this. As the orc charges, its movements are terrifyingly fast, the huge axe swinging right at him. Jin-hyuk's thoughts scream in desperation, he's done for. But in a miraculous moment, his bat springs out of his inventory, blocking the attack just in time, sending the orc stumbling back. Deputy Cho Hung-il and the boss are in shock, their jaws practically hitting the floor, both of them trying to process what they've just witnessed. Jin-hyuk, now laser-focused, quickly pieces it together. The bat must have summoned itself, thanks to the presence detection feature. His thoughts race. Wait, I might actually have a shot at this. His expression hardens as confidence floods back into him. The orc, enraged, lets out a deafening roar and charges again. But this time, Jin-hyuk's ready. "All right, let's do this," he shouts, squaring his shoulders. He counters the ORC with a crushing knee strike, knocking it off balance. With a series of powerful hits, Jin-hyuk smashes the ORC down, the final blow sending it crashing to the ground. Breath ragged but victorious, Jin-hyuk stands tall over his fallen enemy. "I can do this," he exclaims, exhilaration pulsing through him. Just then, a glowing system window appears, flashing, 12 levels up from level 24 to 36. Jin-hyuk's eyes widen in disbelief as he realizes the massive leap in power he's just gained. Before he can even celebrate, the boss yells, "Kang Jin-hyuk, behind you!" Instincts kicking in, Jin-hyuk spins just in time to dodge another vicious attack, another orc. "Whoa, you scared me," he blurts, but annoyance quickly sets in. "Attacking from behind? Seriously?" He narrows his eyes, clenching his bat. "You're next." In one swift motion, Jin-hyuk delivers a devastating blow, taking down the second ORC. Another system window appears, leveling him up again, level 36 to 48. The screen fills with Jin-hyuk's exhilarated expression as he stands triumphant once more. The battle over, Jin-hyuk stares at his enchanted bat in awe. Did I really just take down 2 orcs? He can barely believe it. "These enchanted weapons are seriously OP, he murmurs, still in shock at his newfound strength. Meanwhile, the boss and his crew are still reeling from what they just witnessed. "Boss, what now?" one of the members mutters, but the boss, still dumbfounded, replies, "Be quiet for a moment." The stunned silence says it all. With newfound confidence, Jin-hyuk strides over to the boss, his bat casually resting on his shoulder. "All right then," he smirks, "including the 2 ORCs I just took down. How about we restart our negotiations?" His eyes gleam with determination. After all the fuzz and negotiation, he finally went home. Jin-hyuk lying on his bed, stunned by the success of his latest deal. He can hardly believe he scored 15% above market price. And as he glances at his phone, the sight of 240 million won in his account brings a sly grin to his face. He recalls the orc he saved Lee Jun-chul from, the guy who's now keeping him in business. But reality hits hard. If he wants to keep hunting tougher monsters, he needs better gear. A cheeky idea flashes in his mind. Maybe he can snag some for free. Determined, Jin-hyuk heads to a dingy blacksmith's workshop run by a grumpy dwarf. The atmosphere is thick with soot and suspicion as the dwarf glares him down, asking if Jin-hyuk's trying to bribe him. Cool as ever, Jin-hyuk presents a sleek box filled with orichalcum and some alcohol on the side. The dwarf, skeptical, takes a sip of the beer Jin-hyuk offers and spits it out in disgust. Flustered, Jin-hyuk quickly offers soju instead. The dwarf's frown softens, but he's not satisfied. If Jin-hyuk wants the dwarf's help, he's got to mine some mithril. Realizing he's been played, Jin-hyuk reluctantly agrees. Now, deep in the eerie forest of the dungeon, Jin-hyuk navigates towering trees and moss-covered ground that feels unsettlingly real. As a system window appears, notifying him of his arrival at the second level, the labyrinth of dogs and skeletons, Jin-hyuk sets a warp point. A shimmering portal flickers to life, giving him a way back. With steely determination, he steps further into the dark forest, ready to face whatever dangers lie ahead. Jin-hyuk venturing deeper into the eerie forest labyrinth, only to be ambushed by a pack of wolves with glowing red eyes. Annoyed but unfazed, Jin-hyuk quickly dispatches them with a few swift strikes, leveling up in the process. As the system notifies him of his progress, he realizes the wolves are no match for him, just free experience points. Laughing triumphantly, he revels in the thought of the money he's making from the kobold corpses he's collected, estimating his earnings at 200 million won. However, his greed is short-lived as he suddenly remembers the dwarf's request for mithril. Panicking, he snaps back to reality, ready to hunt for the elusive mineral. As he ventures further into the labyrinth, the air grows colder, and eerie skeletons start to materialize in the distance. Realizing the labyrinth of dogs and skeletons lives up to its name, Jin-hyuk prepares for battle. Though he's annoyed, skeletons aren't worth any money. He charges at the bony foes, but they quickly reassemble after being struck down. Frustrated, Jin-hyuk recalls that to defeat them, he needs to destroy their cores. Spotting a glowing orb inside one skeleton's ribcage, he smashes it, watching the creature collapse into a pile of bones. Yet, as more skeletons swarm him, the fight becomes intense. Jin-hyuk battles through the relentless horde, his movements sharp as he destroys core after core, but the sheer number of enemies wears him down. Finally, after a grueling fight, Jin-hyuk stands victorious amidst a sea of bones, panting heavily. The once noisy dungeon falls silent. As he reflects on the battle, Jin-hyuk realizes the dwarf's request for mithril was probably just an excuse. The crafty old man sent him into the labyrinth to do his dirty work. Just as he starts to laugh at the dwarf's cunning plan, a bright system window appears, informing him that he's reached level 100 and can now change his class. Confident, Jin-hyuk assumes he'll become a warrior. But when the system declares him a cleric, based on his recent actions, his jaw drops in disbelief. Stunned, he stands there, processing the drastic shift in his class, Jin-hyuk muttering in dismay. Seriously? Jin-hyuk strolls into the dwarf's workshop, flexing a pouch of mithril like it's no big deal. The dwarf, totally shook that Jin-hyuk even survived the mission. But Jin-hyuk plays it cool with a tired grin, secretly hiding some extra mithril for himself. Sneaky, right? When he asks for armor that won't draw attention, the dwarf eagerly gets to work, ready to show off his skills. Meanwhile, Jin-hyuk, sick of waiting, went home and rest. After catching some Z's, Jin-hyuk wakes up just in time to see the finished product. When he arrived at the dwarf workshop, the dwarf asked, "Where have you been when I was working?" Jin-hyuk replied, "I was exploring the dungeon a bit," he said that nervously. The dwarf proudly present his work of art, a sleek, mithril chainmail that can be worn under his clothes. At first glance, it looks basic, but when the dwarf suddenly smashes him in the chest with a hammer, Jin-hyuk freaks out, only to realize the armor just ate the hit like it was nothing. With a 50% reduction in both physical and magic damage, he's practically invincible now. His mind is blown as he tries it on, already feeling like a boss. Back at home, Jin-hyuk pops open a flask the dwarf gave him, and bam, the flavor is next level. Storing soju in mithril barrels makes even cheap stuff taste like top-shelf liquor. Jin-hyuk's hyped, thinking, this dwarf knows how to party. He's on a roll now, making moves and calling up his black market contact to sell some kobold corpses and, randomly, the liquor. Even Kang, his buyer, is confused by the odd pairing, but hey, Jin-hyuk's hustle never stops. Meanwhile, chaos erupts at the Titan Guild. Lizardmen are back, and in bigger numbers than anyone expected. The Vice Guild Master is stressed, but refuses to ask for help, rallying the hunters for an all-out battle, with the guild bracing for a massive showdown. The action kicks off at the bustling Hunter Association, where Jin-hyuk gets congratulated on his promotion to cleric. It's a rare class, and while he wasn't thrilled at first, he quickly realizes the value it brings. When a beaten hunter frantically rushes in looking for help, Jin-hyuk steps up, hesitantly but confidently, embracing his new healing powers. The battlefield is chaotic, with hunters scattered across the battlefield, many of them wounded and barely holding on. As the intense action unfolds, Jin-hyuk, the protagonist, arrives at the outskirts of the battlefield. A hunter approaches a wounded hunter and asks, "Are you okay?" The hunter, grateful for the help, responds with a weak, thank you." Nearby, their leader, a commanding figure, shouts angrily at the retreating hunters. "Hey, keep your head down. Stay focused. Do you both want to die?" His frustration is clear as he watches the hunters lose their nerve in the face of the lizardmen's onslaught. Vice Guild Master, visibly irritated, mentally scoffs at the retreating fighters. He thinks, worthless scum. They're acting all tough because they have someone to rely on. Seriously, he quickly shifts back to action, shouting, "Everyone, hold on, I'll wipe them all out." As the Vice Guild Master prepares to attack, one of the hunters warns him, "Vice Guild Master? You can't, you need to command." But the hunter's words are cut short as he is struck down in the chaos. Jin-hyuk is momentarily stunned by the chaotic scene around him. Suddenly, a beaten-up hunter from earlier grabs his arm, urging him, "Just heal like these others here." Jin-hyuk nods and asks if there's anything else he can do to help. The hunter reassures him, "No, just focus on healing, and that'll be enough. Don't worry about the reward. We'll make sure you get it afterward." Jin-hyuk, though hesitant, agrees, thinking to himself, "This looks dangerous. But as long as I get paid, it's fine." Steeling himself, he raises his hand and commands his healing magic, shouting, "Heal." A green light starts to emanating from his hands and went straight to the injured hunter, healing his wound. As the battle rages on, the situation becomes more desperate. More hunters are injured, and the battlefield grows increasingly chaotic. Jin-hyuk hears the desperate cries of an injured hunter. "Gah! Healers! Me too!" He tries to keep up with the mounting injuries, but the sheer number of wounded fighters is overwhelming. Frustration builds within Jin-hyuk as he realizes, no matter how much we do, it's endless. At this rate, we should contact another guild for help. Another healer next to him echoes his concerns, wiping sweat from his brow and saying, I was just thinking the same thing. The gravity of the situation weighs heavily on Jin-hyuk, as he thinks, at this rate, we might all be wiped out. Suddenly, Jin-hyuk senses danger from behind, large lizardmen swinging a blade toward him. Before the strike can land, Jin-hyuk's crimson bat companion, which had been resting by his side, springs into action, blocking the attack in the nick of time. Jin-hyuk's heart skips a beat. Huh? When did they get this close? He exclaims, his eyes widening as he scans the battlefield. Realizing what's happened, he shouts in panic. The rear has been breached. The action kicks off as the lizardmen breach the rear defenses, where Jin-hyuk and the clerics are stationed, creating a surge of panic among the healers. If that's the case, only clerics are left in the rear. I have to block them. It's an ambush. The rear has been breached, shouts Jin-hyuk, taking charge as the situation spirals. The glasses healer freaks out. How did the monsters get this far? While the blue shirt healer panics, realizing it's a concealment technique. Damn it, this is bad. But Jin-hyuk remains calm, stepping up to reassure everyone. It's okay. Focus on healing. I'll handle the rest. His confidence cuts through the chaos, even as the healers look at him in disbelief. Handle them? Aren't you a cleric like us? Glasses healer asks, still doubting. Jin-hyuk assesses the battlefield, noticing the Titan guild struggling to hold the line. Titan is already struggling. I'll deal with this myself, don't worry. With an aura of confidence, Jin-hyuk steps forward just as the lizardmen charge. I wouldn't say this if I wasn't confident, he declares, and with swift precision, he intercepts the monsters, cutting them down effortlessly. He continues on a lizardman killing spree, wrestling, smashing, crushing, and stabbing them with his legendary red crimson bat. As one lizardman tries to sneak up behind him, the lizardman attack is not working on Jin-hyuk because of the unique armor from the dwarf. Jin-hyuk smirks, clearly enjoying the fight. Surprised your attack didn't land? That's the power of good gear, you bastard. The healers stand in awe, amazed at his ability to hold off the lizardmen alone. How is a cleric doing that? They gasp. Just as things seem to calm down, the tension rises again as a tall figure appears on the battlefield, cutting through the lizardmen with ease. Isn't that So Sang-ho, the Titan Guild Master? The healers exclaim, shocked by his sudden arrival. As Seo Sang-ho steps on the battlefield, his presence shifts the entire mood. Calm and commanding, he walks up to Jin-hyuk, casually asking, Hey Hunter, did you take care of the enemies here? Jin-hyuk modestly replies, Huh? Oh yeah, but who are you? The blue shirt healer, still in awe, whispers, That's S-rank Hunter Seo Sang-ho. Jin-hyuk, stunned, mutters, Wait, who? Seo Sang-ho quickly takes control, striking down the remaining lizardmen effortlessly, showcasing the power of an S-rank hunter. Jin-hyuk watches in awe, thinking, Incredible. He took out so many in one strike. No wonder he's an S-rank. Everyone is happy that their leader has finally come to their rescue. Not wasting any time, So Sang-ho joins in the battle and quickly turned the tide with his S-rank ability and sheer power, defeating many lizardmen in one blow. But not everyone's happy. And Doyen, the arrogant vice guild master, steps forward with frustration written all over his face. Guild master? How did you know to come here? He growls. A nearby Titan guild member responds nonchalantly, I called him. There's nothing wrong with asking a guild member for help, is there? With a commanding tone, Seo Sang-ho orders, Those who are low on stamina, fall back. I'll take command of the subjugation from here. Doyen, visibly flustered, watches as Seo Sang-ho wipes out the remaining monsters with one powerful strike. Jin-hyuk, still impressed, thinks, This guy is unreal. He only hit the monsters, avoiding all his allies. With the battle wrapped up, Seo Sang-ho turns to Undoyen, clearly furious. This concludes the subjugation. Check the casualties and gather all the loot. He then confronts Undoyen, anger clear in his voice. Undoyen, you crazy bastard. What were you thinking, trying to handle this alone? Were you planning to get us all killed? Undoyen stammers, trying to defend himself. If I had asked for help, it would have damaged the guild's reputation. Seo Sang-ho cuts him off sharply. It's not the guild's reputation you cared about, it's your pride. As tension fills the air, a nearby guild member awkwardly suggests letting the clerics go, breaking the intense moment. Seo Sang-ho softens his tone, turning to Jin-hyuk. Apologies for the delay. Thanks to you, our guild members survived. May I ask your name? Jin-hyuk replies humbly, Kang Jin-hyuk. Seo Sang-ho is clearly impressed, and without hesitation he offers, Join the Titan Guild. We'll waive the joining fees for you. Before Jin-hyuk can respond, Undoyan loses his temper. Guildmaster, what are you saying? This guy was a D rank not long ago. But before he can continue, Sun-ho shouts furiously at him. Without Jin-hyuk, all of our members and clerics would be dead before I even arrived. He saved lives that would have been lost because of you, crazy idiot. Now, apologize to Jin-hyuk. Before Undoyan apologized, he was cut off by Jin-hyuk. Humbly declined the offer to join the guild, because he can't trust a guild with a vice guild master like Doyan. Hearing this, Doyan anger rise higher than a tsunami. He swiftly charged at Jin-hyuk with all his might. But before he can act, Jin-hyuk's crimson bat knocks him out cold. So that was easier than I expected, Jin-hyuk muses, grinning. The scene later makes headlines. Titan Guild Vice Master Undoyan defeated by C-rank cleric. Back at Titan Guild headquarters, the higher-ups debate how to handle the fallout from Undoyan's actions. The guild elder voices concerns. Guildmaster, are you really gonna let this slide? Seo Sang-ho stands firm. Undoyan endangered new recruits for his own pride. He's done. That's reason enough to revoke his position. No more discussion. His authority is absolute, and the room falls silent as he ends the debate with finality. In his mind, Sang-ho thought, that guy nagged Jin-hyuk, he is no ordinary C-rank cleric. I need to recruit him no matter what. He needs to be in my guild before he gets even stronger. Meanwhile, Jin-hyuk sits at his desk at home, reflecting on his recent expenses. He realizes he spent way too much and needs to make more money fast. Smiling, he grabs a beer, thinking, well, I'll figure something out. It's time for my next hunt. Jin-hyuk steps out of the portal, eyes gleaming with excitement as he surveys his surroundings, hunting for tougher prey. Hunting the same monsters isn't enough anymore, he thinks, feeling the thrill of leveling up surge through him. Now that I'm stronger, it's time for something more challenging. Looking around the deep, shadowy dungeon, he mutters, seems like I've come pretty deep in, when suddenly an orc charges at him from the darkness. Without flinching, Jin-hyuk glares at the sneaky beast, his voice dripping with annoyance. This sneaky bastard, he swiftly stabs the orc in the heart, killing it with one clean blow. But the sound of footsteps echoes through the dungeon as an entire army of orcs appears, their snarls filling the air. Jin-hyuk's eyes light up with greed and confidence. If I catch all these guys, I won't have to worry about money for a while, he smirks. Bring it on, you dumbasses. His grin widens as he gets ready for the fight. Time to make some sweet money. He charges headfirst into the orc army, each swing of his weapon cutting down multiple enemies. The battle is fierce, but Jin-hyuk emerges victorious, standing over the lifeless bodies of 20 orcs, all of which he quickly stores in his inventory for a quick black market payday. Looks like hunting 20 orcs is no big deal for me now, he mutters, stretching his limbs after the battle. Well, let's see what else this dungeon has to offer. As Jin-hyuk moves deeper into the dungeon, he spots a staircase leading down to an eerie-looking temple. His curiosity piqued, he approaches it cautiously. What's that over there? He wonders aloud, feeling a strange vibe from the ancient structure. It looks like some sort of temple. Kinda gives me the creeps. Suddenly, a system window pops up, floating in front of him. You have arrived at the 3rd floor. Temple Guardian's Labyrinth. Oh, the 3rd floor! Looks like I came to the right place. Jin-hyuk grins with excitement as the warp gate registers the location for future use. Before he can move forward, the ground beneath him begins to tremble violently. What the? He exclaims, startled, as a massive rocky hand bursts from the ground, reaching straight for him. Jin-hyuk barely dodges the attack, his crimson bat automatically blocking the next strike with lightning speed. Damn it, he growls, feeling the power behind the strikes. It's so fast. The dust settles, a massive golem, its body entirely made of stone, emerges from the earth, towering over Jin-hyuk. Yura? Golem? He says, recognizing the creature. I've heard about these things before. Artificially created monsters. Jin-hyuk analyzes the creature's movements as it lunges at him again, but he dodges, calculating his next move. If it's only physically strong but not smart. With a powerful swing, he smashes the golem's head, shattering it into pieces. But to his shock, the golem reassembles almost instantly, rising again as if nothing happened. Fuck, Jin-hyuk exclaims, wide-eyed. I smashed its head and it's still alive? Suddenly, a memory clicks. Wait, I remember now. This thing doesn't die unless you destroy the core. His eyes scan the golem's body, searching for the weak point. As he prepares to retreat, another golem grabs his leg. squeezing with crushing force. Before it can finish the job, an arrow flies through the air, striking the first golem in the chest, destroying it instantly. "That's it!" Jin-hyuk exclaims, realizing the core is in the center of the golem's chest. With renewed focus, he swiftly destroys the golem's core and frees himself, quickly taking out the golem that had grabbed his leg. The battle finally ends, leaving Jin-hyuk breathing heavily. "Phew, that was close," he mutters, wiping the sweat from his brow. "If it weren't for that arrow earlier, I might have been done for." Jin-hyuk looks around, searching for the mysterious figure who saved him. "Who helped me just now?" he wonders aloud. "Did the dwarf follow me down here?" Turning around, his eyes widen in shock as he sees not a dwarf, but a tall figure standing in the shadows, their long, pointed ears catching the faint light of the dungeon. "Wait a minute. Those ears? No way. An elf?" As if the day couldn't get weirder, Jin-hyuk, seeing his savior approach, tried to bow his head thanking, but instead that striking figure rushed at him, who clearly takes no nonsense. She grabs his shirt and pulls him close, her eyes narrowing. "I haven't seen you in this dungeon before. Who are you?" She's all business, and the tension is dialed up by the red hues that seem to underline her intensity. Jin-hyuk, caught off guard and completely clueless, stammers out a confused, "What?" The elf girl doesn't let up. She hurls question after question at him, her tone sharp and impatient. "Where did you come from? How long have you been trapped here?" Jin-hyuk finally blurts, "I just entered today." That stops her in her tracks, her eyes widening in shock. "You entered today? Which means, you know the entrance?" Without warning, she shoves him to the ground, her excitement barely contained. Finally, a way out. Poor Jin-hyuk rubs his sore back, thinking to himself, "What's with this woman?" But in the middle of the confusion, he can't help but notice how pretty she is. Might have been dreaming about her in broad daylight. Not that it's helping his situation. Lucia, now flaunting her credentials like she's showing off an influencer badge, dramatically declares, "I'm a platinum-ranked mercenary. You can trust me." Jin-hyuk just stares at her, his expression deadpan. "Never heard of you." Cue the massive deflation of Lucia's ego, her confidence visibly taking a hit as the moment turns from intense to hilariously awkward. As they walk deeper into the dungeon, Lucia explains that the whole place isn't even from their dimension. "Thanks to some crazy mage, this dungeon just popped into your world." She shrugs like it's no big deal. Jin-hyuk, still processing everything, asks in disbelief, "Is that even possible?" Lucia, with her usual deadpan delivery, confirms it while revealing there's a hidden room up ahead with a boss monster they need to defeat. Jin-hyuk, still not totally sure about any of this, perks up when he hears the word boss. Nothing like a little life or death scenario to keep things interesting, right? Things escalate when they run into a gang of orcs. Lucia, ever the badass, makes it look easy. With just a kitchen knife, she single-handedly defeats most of the orcs. It is like putting some random kids in the ring with Mike Tyson. Jin-hyuk watches, low-key impressed, but trying to keep his cool. She's incredibly strong, he thinks, swinging his bat with more determination, managing to land a few good hits of his own. Lucia throws him a compliment, and Jin-hyuk grins and says, "This much is nothing." The banter between them adds a fun layer to the chaos, their chemistry sparking in between the orc beatdowns. After the battle, they finally get a breather. Jin-hyuk pulls out a chocolate bar, offering it to Lucia. She hesitant but gradually accepts his offer. What could go wrong? It's just a snack, she thinks. After taking a bite, she is in love with that thing and go completely beast mode, munching on every single chocolate Jin-hyuk had. At this point, she is robbing him legally. Dungeon floor now is full of chocolate packages. "Is there more?" she asks, her voice full of hope. Jin-hyuk, realizing his stash is gone, sighs dramatically. That was the last one. Lucia's pouty expression as she realizes the chocolate supply has run dry is enough to crack anyone up. The light-hearted vibe doesn't last long, as they soon find themselves face-to-face with the dungeon's boss monster room. Lucia is cool as ever, not even breaking a sweat as she assures Jin-hyuk, "I can handle it alone." She flashes a confident wink. That is enough to make our guy fall for her deeper than the Atlantic Ocean. In front of them stands a giant monster, full with armor from head to toe, looking menacingly at the two. She focuses on gathering energy and transfer all the aura into her bow and arrow with the elf's arrow, an immense glowing power that blasts through the boss monster in one single, devastating hit. Jin-hyuk watches in absolute disbelief, his jaw practically hitting the floor. "Just one hit? That huge monster?" he exclaims, unable to fathom what he just witnessed. Jin-hyuk stares at Lucia, his eyes wide with excitement. "This is what aura is?" he asks, feeling the weight of the moment. His hands tremble, not out of fear, but sheer anticipation. Lucia, ever calm and composed, nods. "It has incredible power, doesn't it? And yes, I'm really going to teach you this." She flashes a small smile. A promise is a promise, after all. Then she tilts her head, teasing slightly. "So what do you think? You want to learn it or what?" Jin-hyuk barely hesitates, his voice almost cracking with excitement. "Yes," he thinks to himself. "This technique has immense power. I can't believe this is happening. An unexpected gain for sure." Lucia, breaking his internal monologue with a reminder, says, "Before we get too carried away though, we need to finish off that boss monster." "Oh right." Jin-hyuk snaps back to the task at hand. He's eager, sure, but still a little scatterbrained. "I'll handle it." Jin-hyuk lifts his bat high into the air, feeling the surge of energy rushing through him. With a mighty swing, he plunges the weapon into the boss monster's chest, shattering its armor. But to his surprise, the thing isn't going down easy. "I clearly remember what I learned earlier," he shouts. "Got it!" The boss monster, not one to take a beating without a fight, readies itself to strike back. But Jin-hyuk, quick on his feet, shouts, "Holy shield!" The air crackles as his defense activates. Nearby, Lucia watches, her eyes widening in surprise. "That technique, it's aura, isn't it?" she thinks, momentarily stunned by Jin-hyuk's ability. Jin-hyuk, not missing a beat, launches himself at the monster again. "If one hit isn't enough, I'll keep hitting until it works." And boy does he mean it. With each swing, Jin-hyuk grows more determined. The boss monster is tough, but Jin-hyuk is tougher. After several relentless blows, the creature finally crumbles into pieces, and with it comes a satisfying ding. Jin-hyuk exhales, wiping the sweat from his brow. "Sorry that took a while." He turns to Lucia, grinning. "So will you teach me aura now?" Lucia, though slightly amused, raises an eyebrow. "What are you talking about? You just used aura earlier, didn't you?" Jin-hyuk blinks. "What? I used aura?" "Yes," Lucia says, her tone a mix of playful teasing and genuine surprise. "You just used your holy power to wield aura, right? Aura? Are you talking about the skill?" Jin-hyuk's confusion only deepens. He scratches his head, trying to make sense of it. Lucia rolls her eyes slightly. "Skill? I'm not sure what that is, but anyway, it seems you can learn it faster than expected." Jin-hyuk's eyes light up again, though this time with a mix of relief and disbelief. "What? Is that true?" The thought of already having this powerful ability coursing through him was surreal. "Yes, you're a cleric, right?" Lucia says, leaning in a bit. "That shield you used earlier, it transforms holy power into aura, so technically, you've already started using it." "So, does that mean I can use it right away?" Jin-hyuk asks, his voice wavering between hope and uncertainty. Lucia smirks, sensing his eagerness, but deciding to keep him on his toes. "Right away? Well, that depends on how you use the technique." She shrugs as if it's no big deal, but the grin on her face says otherwise, licking her lips mischievously. "But first," she says, her tone dropping to something a bit more serious, almost as if she's savoring the moment. "There seems to be a condition. Seoul is alive with activity, the city's streets a bustling hive of energy. As dungeon hunters rush about, their faces painted with tension. In the midst of this chaos, we meet Sang-ho, the Titan Guild master, who is far from pleased. He stands across from his secretary Lee Hyena, frustration simmering his voice as he talks about an anomaly near Gangnam Station. "No major guilds are left here. What can we do?" His tone reflects the guild's growing desperation. The seriousness of the situation is clear. They're short on capable hunters, and the clock is ticking. But suddenly, Sang-ho's scowl shifts to a glimmer of hope as he spots someone familiar. Kang Jin-hyuk. Unlike the seasoned hunters around him, Jin-hyuk stands out in the most bizarre way possible. He's not armed to the teeth or dressed for battle. Nope. This guy is lugging around a giant box filled with chocolates and sweets like he's about to binge-watch a rom-com marathon. Sang-ho can't help but call out to him, desperate to recruit Jin-hyuk for the job. Their conversation is a hilarious mismatch of tones. While Sang-ho stresses the urgency, Jin-hyuk, completely unfazed, casually shrugs it off, more focused on his snack stash than the fate of Seoul. "I'll think about it," he says with a smirk, leaving Sang-ho flabbergasted. From there we shift scenes, landing in the dim and eerie atmosphere of a dungeon. Jin-hyuk, still in possession of his giant box of sweets, presents it to Lucia, his otherworldly elf mentor. And boy does she dig in. Lucia's a sight to behold, stuffing her face with chocolates as if it's the last meal she'll ever have. Jin-hyuk watches her with mild disbelief, internally questioning how a snack-obsessed elf is his guide to immense power. But Lucia has more than just a sweet tooth. She's got knowledge. She explains the intricacies of a magic circle carved into the dungeon's ceiling, explaining how it connects the dungeon to the outside world. Jin-hyuk's attention, however, shifts when Lucia announces it's time for aura training. Lucia takes his hand, and suddenly, a surge of mystical energy swirls around them. The atmosphere crackles with power as she begins infusing aura into his body, energy spiraling in vibrant arcs. Jin-hyuk's inner thoughts are a roller coaster of confusion and awe, as he tries to wrap his head around this newfound power coursing through him. Lucia, clearly impressed by his natural talent, pushes him harder, hinting that he might even master the basics by the end of the day. Jin-hyuk's reaction is a mix of amazement and quiet determination. He can't believe how quickly he's progressing. Then comes the fun part, combat training. Lucia, ever the believer in trial by fire, throws Jin-hyuk into a battle against goblins, kobolds. Armed with nothing but his trusty bat, Jin-hyuk charges forward, bashing monsters left and right, all while complaining, "Why am I hunting monsters alone?" The chaos of the fight is both intense and comical, especially when Lucia, completely unfazed, tosses the golem at him with a casual, "People tend to unlock their potential in a crisis, don't they?" Jin-hyuk's internal monologue is priceless. He's trying to figure out this whole holy power thing while also getting pummeled by a literal rock giant. It's like trying to cram for a test while the fire alarm's going off. But the real breakthrough happens mid-battle. Jin-hyuk feels the aura for the first time, manifesting as a holy shield. He looks at it, surprised. The shape of the shield, it's different. This is the moment everything clicks for him. But before he can act, with a bang, Jin-hyuk's holy shield shatters in a blaze of light as he squares off against a massive golem. The tension in the air is thick, sweat trickling down his face as he grits his teeth and yells, "Damn it, they don't give me any time to rest." His voice echoes off the stone walls as he backpedals, trying to catch his breath. Meanwhile, Lucia, his sharp-tongued companion, stands cool as ice nearby, clearly not impressed. She throws him a side-eye and snaps, "I told you to get the hang of it, not to make a foolish mistake." Her words cut through the tension like a blade. Jin-hyuk, panting, quickly throws up a defense of his own. "That's too harsh." He glares back, clearly annoyed but too tired to argue. Lucia simply crosses her arms, her eyebrow raised as if to say, "Yeah, sure, buddy." But then, ding, a notification pops up, making Jin-hyuk freeze mid-complaint. "You have acquired a skill." His eyes widen. Another message quickly follows. "Holy Power Application Level 1. Jin-hyuk stares at the screen, stunned. "What? I gained a skill? Just like that? It's like getting free Wi-Fi at a coffee shop when you weren't even looking for it." The system lays out the rules for him. He can now manipulate holy power at will, and the more he uses, the stronger he gets. His mind races, connecting the dots faster than he can blink. He's found a loophole. A way to gain skills outside of a job change. But Lucia, ever the cautious one, watches him with a mix of curiosity and concern. Facing a golem while learning aura might have been a bit much, she muses to herself, about to step in. Before she can, Jin-hyuk stops her with a bold declaration. "Stand back, Lucia. I'll take care of that thing." His eyes gleam with a new confidence. Without waiting for a response, Jin-hyuk charges at the golem, his crimson bat swinging wide. "Focus. Focus even more. Feel the mana in the bat." He mutters under his breath, his movements becoming sharper, faster. The bat crackles with energy as it strikes the golem, and with each hit, the stone creature begins to crumble. It's like seeing someone figure out how to beat a boss fight in real time. The golem isn't down yet, though. Jin-hyuk knows this is the final stretch, clenches his fists, takes a deep breath, and unleashes power surges, and suddenly, the system chimes in again. Boom! Jin-hyuk's bat glows gold, radiant energy spiraling out from it like he just unlocked a hidden level, shattering the golem's core into dust. It's over. Jin-hyuk stands there, panting, sweat dripping from his chin as the golem's remains fall around him. Lucia mutters in disbelief. "No way! He's already using aura?" Her eyes are wide, and it's clear that Jin-hyuk just blew her expectations out of the water. Jin-hyuk, still trying to catch his breath, smirks like he just won the lottery. Phew, it really works. But the universe isn't done rewarding him just yet. The system goes off again. You have acquired a skill, and Holy Power Application Level 3. Skills are popping up like new apps on a phone. Jin-hyuk's mind is buzzing, thinking about all the new abilities he has now. Unyielding and precision strike. His excitement is contagious, though his body's starting to feel the toll. He laughs through his exhaustion. This is really tough. Lucia, despite her usual cool demeanor, is visibly impressed. She gives him a nod. Not bad. You're doing well. Jin-hyuk, now riding the high of his success, looks at her with a cocky grin. I think I'm getting the hang of it, but what do you think? But Lucia's silent for a moment. She's not exactly sure what to make of how fast he's improving. I knew you had talent, but I didn't expect you to use aura in combat this quickly. She reflects internally, a bit of worry creeping into her thoughts. Jin-hyuk, completely oblivious to her internal monologue, raises an eyebrow. Why, is something wrong? Lucia quickly brushes it off, waving her hand. No. You did well. With the adrenaline wearing off, Jin-hyuk takes a moment to reflect on his achievements. Thanks to Lucia's training, I've acquired 3 passive skills and 1 active skill that lets me use aura in combat. Who wouldn't be? Just as he's about to catch his breath, Lucia, who's clearly not here for breaks, asks him, So, have you rested enough? Let's keep going. Before Jin-hyuk can even answer, Lucia whips out her weapon and fires a shot directly at him. What are you doing? He yells, barely dodging the blast. The shot hits a nearby door, blasting it open to reveal a new horde of monsters waiting in the wings. Lucia grins wickedly. Once you've started, you have to see it through to the end, don't you? Jin-hyuk, still reeling from nearly getting roasted, shoots her an exasperated look. You're worse than a demon elf, he mutters under his breath, grabbing his bat. Then, with a resigned sigh and a grin, he adds, If I knew this would happen, I would have brought some mana potions. Damn it, but deep down he's ready for round 2. With no turning back now, Jin-hyuk steels himself. Alright, let's go all the way to the end. The chapter opens with him meeting Jin-chul at the black market, and honestly, Jin-hyuk looks like he just got chewed up and spat out by life. Jin-chul looks him over and hits him with the classic bro, you need sleep. But Jin-hyuk, brushing it off, hits him with a just overworked, like it's nothing. They exchange some banter about monster corpses and Jin-hyuk's infamous soju hustle, making it clear that even in his tired state, he's still about that money. Next, we see Jin-hyuk leaving a store with a box of his precious soju. He's feeling like a straight-up business mogul, selling cheap soju as artisan for a ridiculous 150,000 won. He's practically laughing to himself, thinking, scamming people never felt so good. But hey, when your pockets are full, who's complaining? Finally, back home, Jin-hyuk face plants into his bed, ready for some well-deserved sleep. His mind drifts to comparing Lucia's world to his, thinking about all the cool mana tricks he could pull off. But sleep wins, and he's out cold, until the blaring disaster sirens rudely yank him out of dreamland. Confused and grumpy, he realizes it's the monster invasion, but way earlier than planned. He's about to ignore it and let the big guilds handle it, until triple rewards flash in his mind. Instantly wide awake, Jin-hyuk's eyes gleam with greed. He's not missing out on that cash. He summons his crimson bat and roars, Come at me, you monsters! The city is an absolute mess. Police are scrambling. People are running for their lives, and hunters are fighting for survival. Sang-ho, the S-rank powerhouse, shows up like a one-man wrecking crew, obliterating a giant ogre with one punch. Basically, this guy is the Hulk, but with cooler clothes. Still, the flood of monsters is too much even for him, and the frustration on his face is real. Meanwhile, Jin-hyuk is on the other side of the battlefield, slicing through monsters like he's on a speed run, barely breaking a sweat. And mid-fight, he answers his phone like it's no big deal. It's Hyena from the Titan Guild, begging for help. They meet up, and Jin-hyuk, being the businessman he is, strikes a deal. 4 times the payment per monster plus some free service. Classic Jin-hyuk. He crushes 2 goblins negotiating. Once the deal's sealed, Hyena hands him a monster counter device, tracking his kills. The goal, 82 points to match the top hunters. Jin-hyuk just smirks, flexing a bit as he taps into his Lucia-learned holy energy and takes down a massive orc in one hit. The other hunters? Shocked. They're whispering, is he secretly A rank? Off in the distance, the Titan Guild's Vice Master Doyen is having his own problems. Struggling to take down a few orcs, he notices everyone gawking at Jin-hyuk's one-shot power and loses it. In a fit of rage, he charges at Jin-hyuk, thinking he's finally going to show him up. But Jin-hyuk barely gives him a glance before sending him flying with a casual strike. Jojo pose moment. Jin-hyuk mutters, "What's with this crazy guy? I'm too busy for this." Then, we jump to Sang-ho, in the fight of his life against a massive minotaur. He's low on mana and struggling to keep up. The minotaur is about to finish him when Jin-hyuk swoops in like a superhero. "Lend me your shoulder," he shouts, jumping on Sang-ho and using his momentum to grab the minotaur by its horns and slam it into the ground, knocking it out cold. Sang-ho's stunned, thinking, how did a C-rank hunter just pull this off? Jin-hyuk, as calm as ever, looks at the minotaur and casually asks, "Mind if I finish it off?" Sang-ho, still in shock, just nods, and Jin-hyuk delivers the final blow. With the battle over, Sang-ho walks over to Jin-hyuk, thanking him for the assist. Sang-ho even offers him a spot in the guild, promising him more opportunities like this. Jin-hyuk, not interested, brushes it off. "Let's finish the monsters first, then we'll talk." Sang-ho sighs, realizing Jin-hyuk isn't easy to recruit. "You're not an easy man." Suddenly, Sang-ho's secretary, Hyena, calls with urgent news. "Look at the sky!" they shout. Jin-hyuk and Sang-ho glance up, and their jaws drop. Storm clouds are swirling above, but only in one area, and lightning is raining down, obliterating everything beneath. One strike almost hits them, but they dodge just in time. Realizing the gravity of the situation, asks, "Hyena, report. What the hell is happening?" With a trembling voice, Hyena drops the bombshell. There's a monster inside those clouds, and it's 500 meters long. Just like that, we get a glimpse of the massive beast, its glowing red eyes shining through the storm as it roars, sending down another wave of lightning strikes. This is going to be one epic showdown.